Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Italk project, international talk about language knowledge. Today we have our interviewee, Jaishankar Raman. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
Yes, you did.
Welcome, and our
Thank you.
pastor would like to say a few words before we start the interview.
Thank you.
Good morning, Shankar.
Good morning, Heitor.
Good. It's very good to see you. And
Very
I
good.
hope you and your family are going well.
Yes, and I hope the same for all of you.
Oh, thank you. Well, for us, this is a pleasure having you with us, and especially for our students. I hope this will be a great moment for all our students, and especially also for you, this conversation with Brazilian guys, and so I hope we can have another moments like this in the future also. Well, I will leave the students ask you questions. I think this is the more important now. Marcelo, you can conduce the moment, please.
Okay, so normally we start with a small introduction. So if you would like to introduce yourself in a few words for us.
Okay. Thank you, Heitor. Thank you, Marcelo, for this opportunity. Good afternoon to all of you. I'm really happy to see you all here. And as your teacher mentioned, my name is Jaishankar Raman. I normally go by Shankar, which is the last part of my first name, Shankar. And I am currently in California State University. I am the director of international programs here. And before that, I was working in another university in Indiana near Chicago. And that is where I had the opportunity to meet with Heitor and his family. And I was a professor of economics. And I originally come from India, from the city of Bombay. I grew up in Bombay, and in many ways, it's like one of the bigger cities that you find in Brazil, whether it's Rio or São Paulo. Bombay is by the ocean, millions of people, and very similar in weather. It's lots of rain, lots of warm weather, humid. And then I finished my bachelor's degree in economics in India, in Bombay. And then I arrived in the United States when I was 22. And started my PhD program first in New York. And after finishing my PhD from Notre Dame University in Indiana, I became a professor, and was a professor for about 23 years. And then recently I moved to California, near Los Angeles. So I live near Los Angeles right now. This is it's a pleasure for me to always interact with students. And I had the opportunity to visit Brazil, actually to Ulbra in Canoas. And I had a chance to visit your campus in Torres as well. Unfortunately, I haven't come to the north, and Heitor has told me that I need to come and visit the north, and I hope to come to Palmas someday. But I look forward to your questions. I look forward to learning more about you also in this conversation. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, welcome, Shankar. Our first question comes from Felipe.
So, can you hear me?
Yes.
So hello, I'm Felipe. First of all, nice to meet you. And my question is, I'd like to know your opinion about advantage and disadvantage of taking part in an exchange program.
Can you, thank you for that question, Felipe. And can you just give me an explanation or just a kind of a definition of what extension program is? Because it's different in different countries. I don't want to give the wrong information.
Like,
Program.
yeah, in like in Valparaiso, for example.
The exchange program, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So I think the biggest advantage, and I'm a very strong believer in international education. I think it is important that people have the opportunity to meet and interact, so that they know that the people that are on the other side are no different than who you are. Because if we don't meet, we don't get to understand who the other people are. So I'm always a very strong believer in international education. So the concept of sort of exchange students is very valuable. So, if you think about, say, students wanting to go to Europe or the United States, and we think that that is a benefit for students coming from South America or India or Africa, actually the benefit is both ways. It's actually even more beneficial for American students to interact with students from other countries. Even though you might think that American students are very confident, they know everything, they are just like you. They're nervous. They don't know much about some of the other countries. They in fact know a little less than many of the other countries' students. So it is important. I wouldn't say a disadvantage. One of the obstacles perhaps is the cost of traveling from one country to another. For many people in the developing countries, it is difficult to pay the money for airfare and do this travel and incur these expenses. So that's one challenge that we have, which is the cost of traveling. Many countries do create opportunities when they have the money to do those things. So I would imagine, a few years ago, the Brazilian government created the scholarship for engineering students to come to the United States, and many of them came to the United States, and that's a sort of a benefit of education. So I think that there is a huge benefit to doing these extensions and exchange programs, and I hope that we continue to do more. In my current role, I get extension students or exchange students from many different countries, and normally we get about 150 to 200 students that go and study in California State University.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Felipe.
Okay, our next question comes from Acelina.
Hi, nice
Hello.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
So, here in Brazil, college and universities adopt terms and semesters with pre-established courses and fixed courses. I want to know if it is the same idea in United States, or if it isn't, what is the difference?
Okay, that's a good question. From a system point of view, they are similar in that, you go, you have a regular semester. If you go to college, you have 4 years, typically in the United States, to go for college. And most universities are in a semester system that, starts in August, finishes in December. Again, after New Year, starts in January, finishes in May. So that is true. And most programs will also say that, if you want to study engineering, you have to take these many courses in this sequence. If you want to study business, so they're similar in those terms. I think where the major difference comes, and the biggest advantage for the United States colleges and universities, is it is very flexible. So you can enter college in the United States and say that I have not decided what I want to study. I'm going to take some classes in the first year. I'm going to see what is going to be of interest to me, and then I will decide which major I want to pick. Which is not true in many, many countries. So, you know, in many countries, you have to decide ahead of time exactly. In fact, you won't get admission into a program or something else without coming ahead of time. So that is the big advantage of a flexible system, which allows you to kind of put together some of the courses. The other advantage or other difference, so to speak, is that you have a core set of classes that you need for your degree. So if it's a economics degree, business degree, physics, chemistry, it doesn't matter. You have to take a core set of classes. Outside of that, in the American system, you also have to take other courses, which we will call as general education courses. These are elective courses. Now, many countries have elective courses as well, and you know, they do offer those. However, in the United States, the system is extremely flexible that you can pick up an elective class in dancing and an elective class in astronomy or an elective class in global business. So there is a way that these universities allow you to package your entire program the way you want to see fit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, our next question comes from Larissa.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Larissa.
Well, my question is related to economy. Where do you see India in the near future? Because it's growing, right?
Yes, I think, you know, if you look at any country, especially if you're looking at developing countries, right? One of the things that you have to look for in the prospect of growth is what are the characteristics of that country, right? So if you want to grow a country, you need young people in it, young people who will work and produce things for you, and also you need resources. You need natural resources, you need the ability to put manufacturing and produce things. So in India, we have one of the youngest populations in the world, right? So if you look at the population between the ages of 0 to 30, you know, we have the largest number of people, right? And what happens is, if you think about the future, say 10 years from now, 20, 30 years from now, you know, somebody who is just 5 years old now, 30 years from now will be working. And you need labor force in order to be able to produce things. So that is one advantage India has, that it has a young labor force, and that is very, very important. Now, if you think about China and how China was growing, say, in the 1990s, in the 2000s, in the 2010s, that is exactly what happened in China. China had a very young labor force, and its economy was growing at about 8, 10, even 13% a year. Why was that? The labor force allows you to put people in the factory to make production of goods and then be able to sell that. If you look at China now, China's work population is becoming older. So the number of people that are in the sort of 50 to 60 age group are becoming bigger and bigger. And then, of course, the older population that is retired is even bigger, right? And so population, as it changes, can be a disadvantage in your production process, right? And so that's the big difference that you find. India, however, needs to kind of do a lot more work in ensuring that it can continue to grow in big amounts, because the disadvantage of having lots of young people is also that if you don't produce enough and if you don't have jobs for them, then that can create instability in the economy. Because one of the things that people don't like is that they don't have income or they don't have jobs. So if that happens, then we are in trouble. And that, you know, you can look at many different countries that have that same situation.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question comes from Giovanna.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name is Giovanna.
Hi.
And I want to ask you, what is the influence of American election in the stock market in the world's economy?
We have an election going on here. I didn't know that. So this has been an interesting election, and I'm pretty sure everybody in the world is following what's happening in the U.S. So just this morning we woke up and we found that Donald Trump's lead in two of the important states has now decreased, and it's actually switched. So the lead is now in Joe Biden. And so what that means is there is a very strong possibility, in fact, a certainty now, that Trump will lose the election. So this is an important change. And the stock markets are reacting to it a little bit now. I think what you will find is that in the next couple of weeks, maybe 3-4 weeks, you will see a little bit more instability to some extent. However, stock markets are on the longer range, don't tend to kind of react to one party or the other in a specific way. So just because Biden is going to, say, become the president doesn't mean that the stock market will completely collapse. That's not going to happen. Businesses tend to have a much longer sort of time frame or time horizon. So you will find that, yes, in the next couple of weeks, there is a lot of uncertainty. We have a president who has said he will likely not accept the results. And that's a very dangerous thing. So whenever you have this kind of uncertainty, stock market doesn't like it, right? Markets like to have some stability. And so that's the big fear right now, is that, if he says, I'm not going to leave, and he starts putting more restrictions or encourages the people that support him to go become violent, we see these kinds of things happening in countries across the globe, but we don't expect that in the United States. So the stock market is going to react to that. But at the end of the day, once Biden, let's say, becomes the president, markets will go back to where they are. That's the tendency. I'm not sure about the global markets. Global markets are going to be a little different. They have to look at their own domestic conditions.
Okay, our next question comes from Ana Sofia.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Good.
So first, it's a pleasure to be talking to you. I'm really happy right now. And my question is, how was your experience of moving to India, from India to the USA? And I mean, if you have troubles with cultural boundaries or even social boundaries?
That's a good question. So I came to the United States as a student, and I was probably here even before your teacher was born, most likely. So this is a different time in the United States. And I think it was when you're a young person moving to the U.S., it's very, very different. You kind of take things into your stride, and you're not really, you're kind of looking at things from a different lens. I think it was a very interesting experience for me as a student. So my first experience was in New York City. So coming from Bombay, going to New York City was a sort of an easier adjustment, because it's a crowded city. They have trains, there's noise, there's cars running around. So it's very similar to what I grew up in. So it was not very different from that point of view. My biggest cultural shock came when I moved from New York to Indiana, to a small town where my university was, and I did my PhD there. So in that small town is when you kind of start experiencing cultural things, where, how people live and so on. But I've not had a negative experience. And I think genuinely, once you meet people and they get to know you, it becomes a very different experience. People are genuinely curious, Americans, and if you spend some time with them, talk to them, they will also kind of do the same with you. And I think that's partly why I kind of go back to Felipe's question about exchanges, right? It is so important that we kind of communicate with each other so that we don't have these stereotypes of the other side, because that's what you see sometimes in popular media. You don't get to make a genuine connection. So in my college experience, I'm still friends with many of the Americans that were in my class, and we're now growing up together. We have children, and we have children who are going to college. So this is a way to connect with people at a sort of a very personal level. So for me, it was a great experience, and I've ever since my experience, I've always kind of advocated that we have to create these opportunities for each other so that we can get to know each other.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, our next question comes from Mario.
Hello, I'm Mario. Nice to
Mario.
meet you. And my question is about tourism. You're Indian, right? So
yes.
I love India. Just I never gone to this place, but I love searching the internet about India and things like that. And I want you to recommend me some tourist attractions that I would visit if I go to India.
So I think in many ways India is similar to Brazil in its terrain, in its culture, in its people. I think the only difference that I would say is that India has a northern part, which is with mountains and snow, and that's something that you don't see in Brazil. Although you could go, south of Porto Alegre, and maybe there is a little bit of cold weather there that you can see, which is what I experienced. I was quite surprised. But so you're going to be able to experience within India sort of the tropical Brazilian rainforest kind of weather and climate and beaches and so on. And you could be in the central part of India, which is sort of a little bit drier. You can go to northern part where there is a desert, and then you can go into the mountains. So there is this entire kind of whole ecosystem from the north to the south. So depending on what your interests are, you will be able to do that. The other thing that you will find is that Brazilians look like Indians in many ways. So when you are there, you are most likely going to be confused with being an Indian. So don't be surprised if somebody walks up to you and speaks to you in their language, because they think that you look like them. You will have a good time there because Indians love Brazilians very much. They follow Brazilian soccer more than anybody else I've ever seen. And so that's something that you will like as well. And when I visited Brazil, the similarities that I saw in the fruits and vegetables is just incredible. We have very similar kinds of fruits and vegetables, and which is a great thing that I always find. I like to kind of experience food, and so you will find that as well. So I think that I'm glad that you have an interest. You need to find opportunities. One of the things that your generation will find interesting is that in India there are now universities, new universities that are strongly encouraging this notion of extensions, exchange programs, and international education. So looking for those kinds of opportunities will be a much easier effort on your side, because there are universities that are looking for these things. So it's exciting to be in India. It's a very different place. It might look very chaotic, but when you have 1.3 billion people, you can't expect it to be walking around in the countryside all the time. So it is going to be different. But nonetheless, it's a very exciting place. People are very friendly, and you can survive with English in pretty much every part of India. Even in the remote parts of India, you'll find people speaking in English. So I'm not sure if you know this, but each state in India has at least one language that is native to that state. So India is very diverse linguistically. Officially we have over 30 languages. And when we say languages, we're not saying dialects, we're saying script like French and German, and so that kind of, and similar to Brazil in some ways, there is also differences in culture, differences in the way they dress, differences in the cuisine that you will experience, different foods, different levels of spice. So keep that interest up, find a way to get to India. I think that you will enjoy it.
Thanks. I should try in the near future.
Absolutely.
Okay, our next question comes from Lucas.
Hi, can you hear me well?
Yes. Where are you? Oh, there you are.
Okay, so my question is about economy. I've already asked that question before to another economist, but now I want to know what you think about it. So what do you think is a good way to invest during these pandemic times?
I think invest in what? Invest in pharmaceutical company, or invest in healthcare industry?
Stock market, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, when you say stock market, the stock market is comprised of stocks from different industries, right? Different areas. I think if you look at, and depends upon where the Brazilian market is versus where the American market is, and where some of these other places are. Right now, I think there is a lot of volatility, simply because we don't know where this is going. I think the moment you find that there is going to be a reliable vaccine that can allow us to not meet like this, that you can get on a plane and I can get on a plane and we can meet somewhere, go out to a restaurant and do all these things, right? Well, the moment that happens, the market's going to kind of adjust to that. So, there are opportunities perhaps to look at in the field of pharmaceutical industry. Right now, tourism is pretty much dead in many places. That will start recovering. So you might find that is a place to potentially invest. So, and there are some of these kind of places that you could do. One of the things that you will find is that, and this goes back to economics, where if you have a increase in the number of buyers, which is what, your question is kind of, pointing to, that more people are investing in stock market, the margin of profit will start getting decreased, right? If more people are trying to buy it, you don't get that price advantage. So you need to be able to kind of get that price advantage, being one of the early people to invest. So those are the sectors that I would say could potentially be beneficial. And we'll have to wait and see how that actually plays out.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome, Lucas.
Okay, now we go for the free round of questions. Does anybody have a question?
Actually, I have one.
Yes.
I mean, as you said, you are currently living in California right now,
Yes.
right? And I mean, it's a state that I have a lot of. I don't know. I'm just excited about California. I mean, like the California lifestyle and things like that. And if I could like choose a state, a place to live at the USA, I would choose probably California. And I would like to know on how is the process to apply to the university that you are currently working. And I mean, if there is a lot of papers that we need to work on it, and if like it's hard to an international student to apply and things like that.
Ah, that's a good question, Anna. So, you know, yes, I agree with you that California presents a lot of good opportunities. I think, you know, in the region where I live in Southern California, you know, they always talk about how you could go in the morning, you can go skiing in the mountains, and then in the afternoon, you can go surfing in the beach. So you have both within 2 hours, right? But I also appreciate the fact that California is very diverse. You know, so the population here, you'll find, you know, people from Cambodia, you'll find people from Brazil, from India, from Mexico, everything, right? Which also then means that you have, and this is not just, you know, a few people here or there. It's like large populations of these people from different countries. So that's always a good thing to have good diversity. Coming to your question about applying, so let me give you a brief explanation on California State University, and where I am and what my role is. So the state of California has two sets of institutions, public institutions: the University of California, which is UCLA, University of California, Berkeley, Santa Cruz, and there are 10 of those institutions. Those institutions allow PhD level programs to be offered. And then you have California State University, which is my university, and they are allowed to go up to about a master's degree for the most programs. So that's the big distinction. So if you think about sort of, you know, University of Sao Paulo offering PhD, and then you can say that ULBRA in Canoas offers only till master's degree, let's say, for argument's sake, right? So that's the difference. California State University has 23 campuses. We are the largest public university in the United States. We have nearly 500,000 students and in 23 campuses, and about 50,000 faculty. Each of these campuses works like a separate university, but they're part of a whole system. And so my role here is I work in the Chancellor's office, which is the central office. So we oversee the entire system. So when you think about applying to California State University, you will be applying to one of the 23 campuses of this system. The process for applying is not very complicated anymore. I look back at the process when I was applying to even 15, 20 years ago and to now. And then the now process that you find is very, very simple. You're able to even have a call like this with maybe some admission counselor in California State University, and they can talk to you about what the program is and so on. So you have a lot of advantages. The other thing that you have is that these universities are very open to receiving international students, and in fact, they choose to do that. They want to do that, right? So if you have interest, there are certainly many, many opportunities for you to do that. I am not sure, Marcelo or Jaishankar, if you could speak to this. Are there American universities that approach ULBRA to recruit students or to offer admissions?
Would you repeat the question, please?
So, many American universities go and recruit our students in different parts of the world. And, when I was in Valparaiso, that's something that we did. We would visit other campuses, other countries and university, high schools and so on. Is anybody visiting or communicating with ULBRA high school students to to apply for colleges in the United States?
In this moment, no, we don't have.
Okay. Okay. So this is a good opportunity, and I think that that's something that you can reach out, and you'll be able to kind of communicate with different campuses. And so you will find that within the California state system, there are many universities and good opportunities for getting a good education. In many cases, you might be even offered some scholarship as well. But keeping in mind that studying in the United States will be a little expensive, and I think you need to kind of put that in perspective, and then kind of do that. Having said that, nearly 1 million students come every year to the United States to study from all over the world. Okay, so this is not a new concept. This is something that happens every year. So you will find some opportunities there. I can certainly send some contact information to your teacher and to Heitor to kind of communicate with some campuses to see what opportunities you have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah, I've had the chance of getting a scholarship in the United States, and it's an amazing experience. So
yeah,
if you guys would like to think about that for your future, I'm sure it's going to be really interesting. Celina, do you have a question?
Yes, I have another question. It's not about college and something like that. It's a different question. I want to know your opinion. What do you think about Brazilian economy? Is that good that is based on commodities?
What was the last part that you mentioned? Is that good?
It is good that it's based on commodities. How do you say that?
Commodities.
Commodities.
Yes.
Commodities,
Yeah.
yes. Resources, yes. So, I think in my area of studies is economic development. So I often try to study different parts of the world and see how the economies are growing. And there is a lot of interesting work that has been done about the Brazilian economy, simply because, one, it's a large country. People don't realize how big Brazil is. And especially in the United States, I often talk to the students and I say, if you think about, if you remove Alaska from the main, if you just look at the United States and the mainland, as we call it, Brazil is bigger than that. So from a landmass perspective, Brazil is much bigger than the mainland of the United States. So, and it has a lot of resources. Everybody talks about the Brazilian rainforest as a resource. And so this is where, yes, there is a tremendous opportunity to grow a country when you can use the resources from that country, right? But at the same time, you have to keep in mind that the moment you start using the resources, any kind of what we call as extractive resource, which is you kind of take it out of the ground, cut a piece of wood or something, it's non-renewable for the most part. So you have to be careful, right? So this is something that countries like Saudi Arabia or the United Arab Emirates or Kuwait, they are all aware of it, because the day the oil stops flowing in those countries, the money stops flowing. So many people economists in Saudi Arabia and other places are saying, what is our, Saudi Arabia 2.0, right? What is our next economy going to be? We can't always be oil producers because oil will run out, or maybe oil is not needed anymore, right? Everybody's using electricity, nobody wants oil. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. Brazil has other advantages too. It has a very educated population. It has a large enough population. It holds a position of importance within the American continent. These are advantages that it can put to use. when you think about the closeness to the United States, the sort of people talk about United States as like the mothership, right? That's where you want to sell. If you want to make money, you want to sell to Americans, because Americans like to buy things, and they buy lots of things. And so the fact that you are so close to a market means that you can make things cheaper and sell it faster. So if I'm sitting in Asia, I can't do that. Right, that product has to travel a longer distance. It reduces my price advantage. So that's another advantage that Brazil has. The fact that Brazil's population is large means that it can also have a large enough domestic demand. You cannot always survive on selling things to other people. At some point, you also have to have some domestic demand, because the moment the other country stops buying your products, whether it's because of a political situation, whether it's because of a natural disaster, or just that they don't like the product that you make, then you are stuck, because then you don't know what else to do, right? So these are things where I think Brazil has a good advantage. The political side of it is always is there in a lot of different countries. Right. I mean, I think that kind of a change is always going to be there. But to create a more cohesive policy within Brazil, to ensure that it can continue to grow its economy, to employ its people, to educate its people, that's where the focus should be right now. That the younger generation that's coming up, people like you need to have a good education that leads to good, productive employment. That can allow you to contribute to the economy. That's what you need to be looking at.
Okay, thank you. It's very interesting to know like another perspective that another people have about the Brazil. So it's a great answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now Pastor Heitor has a question.
Okay.
Yes, actually I have two questions. The first one, is the California University connected to any school, especially high school also, or no? This is one question.
Okay. So let me answer that one first. I have been in this university for about 14 months now. So I have not found out, and this is a place where I will kind of investigate a little bit more to see. I know that there is a university, a California State University, in a place called Northridge, which is near LA. And the person that works there, she is from Brazil, in the international office, and Vanessa Andrade. I can check with her to see if they have any connections. I know that each of these 23 campuses that I'm talking about, they all have an international office also, and they all start making connections with high schools in different parts of the world. But so I don't know necessarily, but it's good to know from you that you don't have any U.S. connections yet. And in fact, when you visited Valparaiso, we were looking to make that connection, and we did do that. So I think that's the next step, is to kind of see where we can go.
Yes, our connection with Valparaiso University was stopped this year because of the pandemic, of course. Yeah. But we have interest to start again.
Absolutely.
the connection, especially for exchange programs.
Correct.
From high school students, and especially also from college students also.
Right.
Well, the other question is, you said you moved to California for 14 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Could you talk a little bit about the difference from Indiana to California, about the culture, because it's very, very far away one place to another? I think that will be interesting, because in Brazil we have a lot of difference from the south to the north also.
Right. Right. Yeah, I've been kind of learning about the differences within Brazil, and I think it's prior to coming to California, I was in Indiana for almost 31 years. I went to college there, and then I was a professor, and then we moved. I think there are differences in terms of the weather, of course. Indiana is much more north and in the Midwest, and it is very cold in the winter time, and and in the summertime it can be very hot as well. So we can go from having temperatures in the winter time of -20 degrees and lots of snow to the summertime where the temperature could be 35 degrees and close to 40 sometimes. So there's a lot of variation. Indiana is also not as populated, so you will find that there's fewer people. It's also more agriculture based. Even California is agriculture based, but you find there's a lot of difference between those two. California is people don't realize how large California is. It's if you go, so we have a campus in San Diego, in the very south, almost close to Mexico border. So California State University has a San Diego campus, and then there is a campus in the north in a place called Humboldt. And from San Diego to go to Humboldt will take you at least about 11 hours by car. So it's a very long state. The weather is very, very different in California. The population is much larger, of course. The opportunities are very different. Northern California with its high-tech industries, Southern California with its entertainment and defense and tourism, and then you have the Central California, which is essentially like the vegetable garden for the United States. They produce all the fruits and vegetables for the entire United States. The agricultural economy of California is enormous. And if you look at California if California was a country, it will be ranked number 6 or 7 in the world. So it's a very large, very different kind of economy. My experience in Indiana was with a private university. My university there is a Lutheran university, and that was where the connection came to ULBRA. We've had many conversations and many visits from ULBRA, and from my side, we had not done anything until I visited Canoas. The California State University is a public institution, and it has just as in any country, you'll find that there is a separation between what they call as religion versus state. But so it is a very different scenario here, different situation. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, we still have a few minutes. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Can I ask them a question?
Oh yeah, of course.
So, you are all in high school right now, and what are your dreams and hopes? What do you want to do?
So I'm gonna answer
Yeah,
first.
start, Anna.
And I've been thinking about a lot actually, and I think it is a thing that I'm not still sure, but I'm thinking to take a major at international relations, and I would like to work as a diplomat. and I mean, really work with like international politics and like international, I mean, just like international things as culture, as like people. And I would like to take a PhD and things like that. But I mean, at certainly points, I just stop and think, is that what I really want? Or is that like really going to happen as I am expecting? And I don't know, a lot of things come to my mind, but it's what I'm planning to do.
Good. I think it's important to kind of, I don't think that you can pre-decide what you want to do. You can have certain plans, and then but also be flexible, right? Sometimes you might have to adjust, but it's a very interesting field to be in. Whether it's international relations, you look at it in terms of foreign service for the Brazilian government, or consulting. One thing that you find globally is that no country is going to be isolated anymore. They're always connected, right? So when they're connected, you're going to have to interact with others. So, you guys right now are at the very minimum bilingual, which is very important. Learning another language is extremely important, and you are, you speak like natives now in English. So, and I think that that's a great thing to have, and credit to your teacher and your school that you have this opportunity. Because for me, I tell American students always, you need to learn another language, because you cannot only rely on English. There is something that happens to your brain when you learn a different language. Your brain starts thinking differently, and that's very, very important. So keep doing that. Perhaps add another language. I'm sure Spanish can come very easily to all of you, and you can do that. You probably do that already. You never, but certainly having those kinds of aspirations is very important. Anybody else?
Marcy.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to pick on Marcio.
Oh, Marcio.
I think
Marcio is not.
Don't speak English.
That Adelina, you can go ahead.
And so I'm thinking about a course medicine, because I really like the healthy thing and care about the other people. So it's the unique thing that comes to my mind when I think about my future and my plans to my future. So I'm gonna do that.
Very cool. That's a very noble thing to think about, and healthcare is going to be important globally. I mean, here we are, in the middle of a pandemic, so it's not going to be. This is something that we all have to kind of worry about, and it's a good field with lots of exciting research going on. In your lifetime, likely, a majority of the diseases could possibly have cures that are much easier, right? If I look back 50 years ago to now, there's enormous advances in medicine, and in your next 50 years, that's going to be, I can't even imagine, but it's exciting. Yeah.
Giovanna.
Right now I'm doing college. I'm studying psychology, and that's my dream, and I wanna help people with mental health, and I think it's really important, and that's my dream.
It's good. I'd say people don't realize, and I think that there is some research that is coming now, because when in March, when the pandemic started, everybody said, okay, let's just go home and work from the home on the internet and do Zoom classes or Google or and things like that, and somehow thought that everybody will adjust to this new life where you can learn things and sit at home, and you don't realize how difficult it is for human beings. Human beings are very social. We need to be next to each other. We need to be sitting and having coffee or going and laughing and doing things. This screen is not the best way to do that. I mean, yes, it is better than nothing, but it is, and so we're seeing a lot of mental health issues that are coming up, and I think that this is showing us an area which people don't normally focus on. So I think that's a great way to look at fields. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Larissa.
Actually, I don't know which career I'm following, but I think something related to law, because it's an area I have interest.
Good. No, I think it's are you looking at sort of corporate law or criminal law or family law? Any kind of specific area that interests you?
Actually, like about the politics, I'm not going to politics, I think, but to understand how the law itself works.
Yeah, very good. No, I think that's exciting, but good luck. Politics is not bad sometimes.
Well, I've been thinking about it for a while, but I'm not sure yet what I'm gonna do in the future next. This is why I intend to leave Brazil as soon as possible, because I think in other countries I may have more opportunities, to think and decide what I'm gonna do. But I'm not sure yet.
I think that's something that people can, there are ways to kind of think about what the future can hold. And you're right. I mean, sometimes you don't know what opportunities are, and you might start in a field and then feel like, that's not for me. I need to move. I thought that I wanted to be an engineer. I ended up in economics, and and that's my career now. And then I ended up in international education, which was not, if I was looking at it at your age, sitting in Bombay, I don't think I could have imagined this morning sitting and talking to you all from the field of international education. So there are, you're young. You should kind of. But the one common denominator all of you need to have is that you need to be curious. You need to kind of think and be open to learning new things, and do that, and that will help you to go through.
Mario, you're the last one.
Yeah, I'm between design and coding. I'm right now. I'm studying coding. But I want to try design too.
Okay. No. So, anything IT related, right?
Yes.
Whether it's big data, whether it's going to be, everybody, I think what the US is realizing, and some other countries are also, is that we collect a lot of data. Because everything is done electronically, we collect a lot of data. People don't know what to do with that information, right? And so,
yeah, it's the future,
It is, and and we don't have enough people that actually do some of those things. So, big data is going to be something that's useful. And if you have an aptitude for coding, that's actually, that's a good way to kind of think about it.
Okay, well, we're almost out of time. I would like to thank you very much, Jaishankar. We had an amazing experience. I'm sure everybody enjoyed a lot, and we had a huge variety of different questions, right? I hope you enjoyed our project, and yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all the questions, and it was really exciting for me to do this. I think that this is a great opportunity to connect with youngsters. I hope what I said was useful. Happy to come back anytime. This is fun, and I have shared with your teacher as well that so you are in high school. I have a son who is in high school. And he is in the same situation as you are in some ways. He's thinking about what to study, what to do, and so if there is an opportunity that comes that you guys can all talk together, he would be happy to join that as well. So maybe that you can do that as a next project.
Yeah, we're gonna make that happen.
Awesome. Awesome. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. I wish you all the best. I will try to collect some information and share with regards to studying in California State University that you can take a look at. If there are opportunities for exchange, I will encourage some of my campus international offices to reach out to see if maybe there is a possibility to do that as well.
Thank you very much, Shankar.
Not a problem. Thank you. I wish you all the best and be safe out there. And hope that someday we can all get together face to face.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Thank you very
Take
much.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, Shankar.
Thank you.